The next thing we're going to talk about is a tool called Model Builder. Model Builder is the tool you would use to carry out the analysis. Of course, not everyone will have ArcGIS installed in their office, so we typically take the Excel spreadsheet and use it as a plan to plug in the ArcGIS model into Model Builder. Anything you build in Model Builder can be executed. The downside to Model Builder is sometimes it can be a little bit unstable. It can have some real stability issues. It is recommended to save often and keep your Excel spreadsheet up to date or whatever tool that you're using to diagram your model. So in the following tutorials, I'm going to walk you through how to create a toolbox, create a model, export the model, edit the model, and do various other tasks. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new toolbox and a new model. There's several ways to create a toolbox, and what I'm going to show you is just one way to do this. Of course, you are encouraged to experiment with multiple ways of doing the same task, but if you run into problems and something's not working for you, please refer back to the way that I'm showing you here. So I'm going to go into Arc Catalog, and I'm going to do that by going to Start, All Programs, ArcGIS, and choosing Arc Catalog. I already have Arc Catalog open here, so I'm just going to make the window bigger. I'm going to navigate to my project drive, projects, my project site, and the models directory. So in my catalog tree, I am in projects, project site, GIS, models. And then on the right side in the contents, I'm going to right click here. I'm going to go to new, and I'm going to choose Toolbox. And now I'm prompted with the option to rename the toolbox. You can see that it's highlighted and there's a cursor blinking in there. So I'm going to rename this toolbox after the project site. And there's my toolbox. The next thing I want to do is I want to create a model inside of my toolbox. And you can have multiple models inside of your toolbox. So on the left side, I'm just going to click on the toolbox, so that on the right side I now see an empty area, an empty container where I can create things. So in the Contents tab, I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to New, and I'm going to choose Model. And as soon as I do that, Model Builder opens, and I'm not going to do anything in Model Builder just yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit Exit in the corner. And I notice that in my Marlette Park toolbox I have a model in here, and it's just generically named Model. I'm going to right click on my generically named model and choose rename, and I'm going to call this Suitability Analysis. And we can have multiple models in our toolbox. And this particular model is just going to be called Suitability Analysis. So at this point in time, I'm done with Arc Catalog, and I'm going to switch back over to ArcMap. I'm now back in ArcMap. I'm just going to click off my selected graphic here so I don't accidentally move it. And over here where it says Arc Toolbox, I'm just going to right click on the very root, and root means the very topmost tree here. So I'm going to right click on my Arc Toolbox and choose Add Toolbox. And then I'm just going to navigate out to where I saved my model. So my model's in my project drive, in projects, project site, GIS, models. I'm just going to select the project site.tbx model and choose Open. And this part can take a little while. The drive that it happens to be reading that model off of is a mechanical drive, so it's a little bit slow. Once it's done, it will appear in your Arc Toolbox as a separate toolbox. So we see here Marlette Park. If we expand that, we should see our Suitability Analysis model. So if we want to edit our Suitability model in Model Builder, all we have to do is just right click on this and choose Edit. Sometimes we're tricked into choosing Open, but we really don't want to open it, we just want to edit it. And once we choose that, we should see this window here with various tools across the top here. As we progress through more tutorials, we're going to learn what some of these tools do. For example, this one is kind of like a zoom control, full extent, fix zoom in, fix zoom out. We have zoom in, we have pan, we have select, just like select elements we had in the main interface. We have the connection tool, which allows us to connect various tools with inputs and outputs. We have validate entire model, and we have run, the ability to run the entire model. So the tools that we're mostly going to focus on is going to be this connect, this select, this pan, and maybe some of these zoom controls over here. If we need to export our model and share it with someone else, we certainly can do that. We can go to model, and we can go to export, and there's two ways that we can export our model. We can export it as a graphic, which is pretty useful if you need to include it in a PowerPoint presentation or any form of documentation. Or we can export it as a Python script. So if we want this model to be part of a larger script, we can build pieces and components of it here, export it out, and start building up a larger Python script. So for those of you who are interested in Python, this is one way that you can build your Python scripts. And once we're done with our model builder, we can go up here to model, and we can click save or save as, but I usually just click save and then just close out. I usually don't version my models. I usually either print a copy of my model, or I export it as a Python script, or I make a secondary diagram. I find that model builder can be a little bit buggy, can have some stability issues. So what I find the most reliable way as far as model building goes is I tend to use the Python scripting and not so much the model builder. But I realize that not everybody's into the Python scripting, and some people prefer the visual representation of models versus a long sheet of text. So from here on out, we're just going to pretty much use the model builder graphic version of building models.